Scholar again from the 2023 cohort, and is currently a graduate student in cancer biology at University of Wisconsin at Madison. Thank you for joining in. We also have with us, we are going to have with us Sambit, who is a Khorana Scholar from the 2024 program cohort and is currently an integrated master student in life sciences at the National Institute of Technology at Rourkela. We also have with us Archit Goyal, who is currently a medical student at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, that is AIMS Bathinda, and is a Khorana Scholar from the 2024 cohort. We are also going to have with us Dr. Ishan Gupta, who is a Khorana Scholar from the 2023 cohort and is currently a medical intern at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, that is AIMS, New Delhi. And we also have with us Fatima Muhammad Amin, who is a Khorana Scholar from the 2023 batch and is currently a graduate student at the Faculty of Medicine, University of Turku in Finland. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. And today, together, we'll be covering all aspects of the Khorana Scholarship application, right from the eligibility to the research statements, these LORs, and much more. Our panelists will be sharing their unique experiences, and after each main topic, others will be adding their thoughts, and we will also take up some doubts if we have the time to do so. As a disclaimer, this session is not officially organized by ISSTF, DBT, or that is like Department of Biotechnology of Government of India or Minster Forward. They are the organ. They are the what do you say? They are the organizers or the facilitators of the scholarship per se, but this session or this panel discussion is organized by us on a volunteering basis to help our prospective applicants. So in case some error in speaking or guiding happens unintentionally or unknowingly, we apologize in advance, and also we are not responsible for that. uh, so that being said, let's dive right in. So to begin with, first question I would ask to Fatima. So Fatima, can you please kick off by introducing the Khurana scholarship to everyone? Could you cover the benefits of the scholarship, what is included, what is not, and how it impacts career or academic aspects? Because we have gotten a lot of questions like what is the scholarship, whether this scholarship will help gain new learning platforms, and whether it is even worth it or not, because unofficially it will be a 1 year long process, and especially what value does it add to our lives. So over to you, Fatima.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Paris, for the wonderful introduction of everyone. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope you had an amazing day today and you're very motivated for this session. So, as the name suggests, the Khorana program is named after Dr. Har Gobind Khorana, who basically got the Nobel Prize because of his work in the interface of chemistry and biology. So the main objective of this program is to provide the undergraduate and postgraduate students in India the exposure so that they can see the world-class facilities in leading US host institutions and research laboratories. And basically, it also wants to kind of promote the R&D collaboration between US and India in the fields of basically biotech and bioquantitative sciences, and also kind of promote Indian students to pursue research-based careers, to pursue a PhD, to motivate them to, go into these fields. So that's basically an introduction of what the Khorana program is. The scholarship kind of includes a stipend that you get, the airfare, which means travel to and from the US institution is covered, and you also get a health insurance. So basically, that is it about it. Regarding the eligibility criteria, I would say it's preferred that you apply for this scholarship when you're in your pre-final year. So you can be doing a bachelor's degree, you can be doing a BTech degree, you can be doing a BTech, MTech integrated degree. You just have to be in your pre-final year. And because we got a lot of questions regarding people who are pursuing PhD or postdoc people. So this scholarship is meant for undergraduate and postgraduate students and not people who are pursuing a PhD or a postdoc. So this needs to be like specified. Also, MBBS students are also eligible to apply for the scholarship. And an important thing to note is that if you're in your first year, final year, also, then you are not eligible to apply for this scholarship. So, for example, if you're pursuing a 4-year degree, be it BSc honors for a 4-year degree or let it be BTech, you can kind of apply to this scholarship in your second and third year, but preferably it would be better if you do it in your pre-final year, which means kind of your third year. So this I'm telling from the perspective of a BSc honors student or a BTech student who has like 4 year of degree to do. And there's also a new thing that they have introduced in the eligibility, particularly this year, is that the preference will be given to people who do not have an international research experience, which kind of also should be a major factor that should motivate all of you to kind of apply for this scholarship, because the Khorana program kind of wants you to kind of go to US and, you know, see how things work abroad and do it. Regarding the CGPA criteria, the CGPA of anyone who's like pursuing a bachelor's or a master's degree is 8 or above. For MBBS students, it's, I believe, so it's 65% and above. And the deadline to apply is on 7th October. Yeah. So I think I've covered most of the points, Paris.
Yeah, that was a wonderful answer. Thank you so much, and thanks for covering the eligibility criteria also in the same go. And I believe this will help our prospective applicants a lot. However, could you please add on if, could you please elaborate a little on, how prospective applicants can access their application page or like application portal of the Khorana scholarship and so on? Like how?
Oh, you can, yeah, they can directly go to the IUSSTF website. They can just type in like a Google search would be enough. So,
All right,
yeah.
that sounds wonderful. Um, just give me a moment, please. My laptop is a bit. Yeah, yeah. So, regarding this, I would like to take a couple of questions. But before that, I wanted to ask if any of the other scholars would like to add on to this. Especially, I would like to go around the table and ask if you all would be comfortable to share your experiences about what you did in your research internship and how did it go. In short, in a brief way. So if y'all can like go one by one. Tejas, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Tejas. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So, hi everyone, I'm Tejas. So, I did my summer internship at Dana Farber Cancer Institute in Boston under Dr. Ming Ru Wu. So, my experience, I mean, basically, I was working in CAR T cell therapy. So, my experience in the lab was so like really good. My PI was super supportive, and I did not have much of work pressure as such. So I had time to explore the city and get out, enjoy the vibes. And overall, the work culture was amazing. I got to learn a lot of stuff which I did not have in my current lab in India. So yeah, I had a great time there.
Awesome. Ira, would you like to go next?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Ira. So I did my BSMS from the Indian Institute of Science Education and Research. And so for my Khorana scholarship experience, I went to the University of Texas at Austin, and my PI was Dr. Jeffrey Barrick. And so I worked in the general field of experimental evolution and bacterial genome evolution, basically understanding how genes in bacteria evolve over time. And I think the main things were, this was a professor whose work I had admired for a really long time. And so I had the opportunity to work with them. I got to learn a lot of cool new techniques that I previously didn't have the exposure to. This was also a new field. There weren't there was not anybody at my institute who was studying experimental evolution at the time. So I got exposure to a new field, to new techniques. My lab was really supportive and nice. And in fact, I enjoyed my time as a Khorana scholar so much. I've actually returned here for my PhD in the same lab. And yeah, so it has been a very enriching experience, both academically and personally. I feel more confident as a scientist. And I would definitely highly, highly recommend it to any of the students who feel inclined towards a career in research.
Thank you so much for sharing. That sounds wonderful. Ishan, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Hi,
Yeah,
everyone.
audible.
Yeah, thank you. So, I'm currently an MBBS intern at AIMS New Delhi. I did the Khorana program thing during my final year. So, it was kind of daunting for me, I would say, balancing my final examinations and doing an entirely different research experience. So my research lab was a translational lab in hematology. We did a lot of single cell sequencing and a lot of work on the precursor lesions of AML and CMML. So it's like quite focused on that. We recently got a review out of our work, and it got into a very nice journal. So the experience, I would say, is entirely different and it's cutting edge. And it's like I feel at this junction of our career, it is like a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. So yeah.
Thank you so much. That sounds great. Archit, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. So, I'm a final year student at AIMS Bathinda. And so, I did my research internship at Johns Hopkins University, inspired by Pauras himself. So, I was working in Professor Goggins' lab, who is the director of the Early Pancreatic Cancer Detection Lab. So, I chose this lab because I did a project back in my college in second year, which was related to early detection of prostate cancer. So, my main interest follows early detection. So in his lab in Johns Hopkins, I worked on I was a part of two big cohort studies which were running in his lab, and it was a transformative experience, I believe. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. Fatima, did you share your experience while you spoke about like your experience at University of Wisconsin Madison? Sorry. I forgot. Yeah, very well. You're on mute. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I didn't share it before, but I take the opportunity to share it now. So, hello, everyone. My name is Fatima for the people who are just joining now. So, I basically got the Khorana scholarship when I was pursuing my BTech from VIT Vellore. And my BTech was in a hardware field. It was not wet lab, it was not basic sciences. So, it was basically ECE with biomedical engineering. And I did apply for the Khorana scholarship, and I got the chance to go to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which is located in Memphis, Tennessee. And I went there to the developmental neurobiology lab. I learned a ton of wet lab techniques, learned a lot about neuroscience, neurodegenerative disorders. And that is something that kind of promoted me to kind of change my career path, I should say, because right now I'm in Finland at the University of Turku. I'm pursuing a master's in human neuroscience. Neuroscience was out of the window before I even, I did not even know much about neuroscience for that matter. So I was interested in medical imaging prior to the Khorana internship, but then kind of the Khorana internship exemplified and I could see the potential that neuroscience holds or that research holds and how it can change the lives of people who are affected with neurodegenerative disorders. So this is a scholarship that I would recommend everyone to at least apply. Just do your best, put in the application, try your best. And I'd suggest everyone to kind of, apply to this scholarship, because this scholarship is the only reason I'm over here in Finland, or else maybe my career path would have been very different. So yeah, it was a life-changing internship for me. Yeah.
That sounds very motivating. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. With this, I would like to take some questions related to the part you spoke on. So some people have asked. I would like to take one. Can this be a part of my final semester project in masters if it's a 6 month internship?
So I can take that
Yes. Yes.
question.
Yeah.
So like the initial stipend or the funding part comes in only for 10 to 12 weeks. Maybe there is a possibility of extension after you go over there and after you like the lab or the professor likes you, but that's a chapter later. So I would not suggest going in with the mindset that this can be your final year project. But of course, there are Khorana scholars who have extended their stay. This has happened, even in our batch, even I think so in the 2024
Yeah.
batch. So this has happened. So it can be done. But then I would suggest, because you don't know and because you're in your pre-final year, it is worth a shot putting it in, and maybe it turns into your final year thesis. And it'll be a strong basis for you, because then you know the professor well, you know the lab well. There is a possibility of you completing your PhD in that lab. So it's an added advantage. There's no harm basically in putting in that application, is what I want to emphasize.
Yeah. That sounds
And if I
wonderful.
could
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. No, you
If
go
I
ahead.
could quickly add on to that. So my project during my Khorana program was largely computational. And so when I came back to India to finish my thesis for my MS, it actually ended up in like a collaboration between my PI at ICER and my PI at the University of Texas at Austin. And so like a bit of my like Khorana project carried forward into my master's thesis. And so if you're like more on the computational side, that is a possibility. And you can talk to your PI back home and your PI in the US to see if that's something you can work out, essentially remote work and remote advising.
That sounds like a wonderful suggestion, and what future scholars can consider, like in course of time. Another question we have is, I'm a first year MTech student. It's my first semester, so how will my CGPA be judged? Sorry. Fatima, could you answer?
Yeah, sure. I can answer that question. So, what I would say is that I feel personally is that CGPA is just a number, it doesn't kind of tell you how good you are of a researcher. So, put in that application, draft your SOP in such a way that it's very truthful. It is your story of why you have completed any research project, of why you have, contacted any professor, of maybe even write in your failures in that, I did this project, but I was expecting this, but I got something else. So I feel you would not be judged solely because of that CGPA number, right? But of course, there is a criteria. You should have like a CGPA above 8 to apply for this, and 65% and above for MBBS students. But what I would say is that just because one factor is not very good in your application, or if you feel so, don't feel that, oh my God, no, my CGPA is maybe 8, 8.1. Okay, he or she has a 10 CGPA, 9.5. So he'll get in, I'll not. No, don't demotivate yourself. So what I'm trying to say is that the Khorana scholarship, even the application form, if you would see, it is a very rounded, well-rounded application. They kind of want to see all the parts of you, not solely your educational and academic achievements. They want to see why you want to do research, what is it that drives you, and the motive behind it. So I would not suggest you to say that, okay, it's 8 CGPA, so no. You can just, put in your best, and that's what I would suggest. The SOP is kind of one of the main things that can kind of make or break your application. So yeah,
I think one thing all the scholars will agree on this is, just give it a shot, because I believe none of us knew for sure that we'll be selected, but we just gave it. So as Fatima rightly said, that SOPs, your research statement, your essays do matter a lot. So with that being said, the application to the Khorana program asks for 3 essays, right? So the research statement, the SOP, and the summary of past research or training experience. So Ira, my question to you is, can you guide us on how to write a strong research statement for Khorana scholarship? What exactly is the research statement and what is expected to write in it? And how should one choose a research topic? How detailed it should be? And include in-depth descriptions of objectives or technology which methodologies which will be used, or should be more broad research interests? Additionally, how do you identify suitable university programs and professors that align with your interest? for the purpose of listing in the research statement as the program has asked for it. And what's the difference between expressing your research interests and summarizing the past experiences? That is when your past experiences have led to your future research statement. Lastly, how can one balance between personal interest and feasibility while choosing a topic, especially if they're exploring multiple facets of a disease? Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So that's a lot of questions, but I'll hopefully try to do my best to summarize what I think may be a good place to start from. And just as a disclaimer, there is no one perfect way to write these essays, but hopefully I can share a framework of how to go about writing it. So I kind of wrote it down in a Google document. I've just shared the link, but I'll also share my screen, and then you can refer to that. Let's see, share my screen. Sure. Okay. Can you guys see my document?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So yeah, I guess the first question was, how do I find an area that I am interested in? So how do I find a research area I like? So I would start with just picking a broad field of interest. So maybe based on your coursework, a talk you attended, some reading that you've been doing, pick a broad area. It does not have to be a research area that you've had prior experience in. My project was in experimental evolution. I had never done experimental evolution prior to the Khorana program. And it does not strictly have to be the thing that you want to pursue for the rest of your career. And so just for the example of this talk, I picked the topic of antimicrobial resistance. So pick a broad field of interest, start there. Then a good way that people recommend thinking about it is this inverted triangle scheme. So you want to start really broad and then kind of slowly narrow it down to a more specific subfield. So how do you do that? I would say a good starting point is to go on to PubMed and then find a couple of review papers that were published in the last 5 to 10 years on that broad area of interest that you picked. And basically the thing that you're trying to see is you're trying to look at what are the main questions that people are interested in this field, what are the main techniques that people use in this field, and then some background theory about that field. And then while you're reading, obviously these review papers will have a little bit more detail, and that should hopefully give you some inspiration as to like, okay, I can go one step lower down in my triangle. And so, for example, if I started out with, I'm interested in AMR, maybe after reading the review, you're like, okay, I'm interested in the role of transposons and horizontal gene transfer in AMR. So after you've kind of found this more specific area, go start reading reviews on that. And it'll also maybe some like major or central papers on that topic that have been maybe published in the last couple of years. And then again, to say you're trying to look for the same thing. And it's helpful to like actually write this down. So what are the questions that people are looking at in these topics? And then basically at this stage, you want to move from, oh, I'm interested in the role of transposons in AMR to like framing it as a question. And again, the literature is like a great place to see what kinds of questions people are asking in these fields, and then which questions you personally find interesting. And then hopefully this helps you have like a starting point of what area of research. I think the second question was how do I find potential mentors? So there are two ways that I think that someone can go about doing it, and both of those options have their pros and cons. I would recommend a combination of both so you get the best of both those worlds. So option one would be to like make a list of universities in the US and then go to their faculty pages. So each university website has their faculty listed, and you can review their research area and then see if it aligns with the research area that you picked. It's quite possible that at this stage, while you're reading some faculty's research, you'll be like, hey,
Not audible.
No, I think Ira just got cut off.
Yeah, for a moment I thought it was something on my end and I was checking my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, same.
You can wait for a
um,
moment.
should we wait for maybe 1 minute?
Yeah, we can just wait for some time and then,
Yeah.
yeah, we can.
Yeah, let me just text her real quick.
Yeah. I think she, yeah, I think she'll join back. She left just now, like the meeting. Uh, in the meanwhile, I will request our participants to wait for a while for the questions. If time permits, at the end, we will be taking questions from the audience as well. But we have tried our best to incorporate all kinds of questions through the registration form which was circulated. So don't worry about that. So, and if there is something which is not answered by the end of the webinar, you all can ask. So, like, just requesting this so that the chat is not filled with similar kinds of questions, so as to have more systematic. Uh, in the meanwhile, I wanted to ask if Archit can. This was related to the eligibility guidelines question topic which we went through a while back. So, Archit, can you answer? Like, can you tell briefly about how the eligibility guidelines apply to us as MBBS students, especially when it comes because we are like, ours is a 5.5 years course, and like the definitions of final year, pre-final year are a bit different. So thank you.
Yeah. So basically, so the main eligibility for a medical student is that the minimum percentage required is 65%. I saw someone asking in the chat box if they don't have a 65% in the first or second prof and they can apply for Khorana. So no, because the minimum requirement is 65%. So you need that. Earlier it used to be 80%. So somebody from AIMS Delhi, Ishan Gupta's senior, probably reduced it to 65%, which was very nice for us. And but now I don't think so. They are going to reduce it more than that. I don't think so that they'll do it 60%. 65%, I think, is genuine enough. And after that, so the people who didn't get it in the first year, I believe they can try harder and get it in the second year and then apply next year. And regarding the pre-final year and final year confusion, I also had the same confusion while I was applying, though I applied when I was in third year. So people in MBBS usually have a confusion that can they apply in final year and go in internship. So I was also confused, but ultimately this question was answered when I went to Hopkins. So one of the Khorana scholars, Jayaprakash, so he was from AFMC Pune. So he's an intern right now. So he applied it in his final year and he went for Khorana in his internship. So I believe the final year term which we use as MBBS students is not the final year which is considered by the people evaluating your Khorana application. I believe the internship we do in our MBBS is the final year. So I think interns are not eligible for the program, but final year students per se, fourth year students are eligible for this.
Yeah. So essentially, our graduation is after our internship. So our internship is a pre-graduate internship. So all they want, the Khurana people, is to for us to have one more additional year after our application for us to go and do the internship. Um, anyway, thank you for answering that, Archit. So I think I think Ira might be having some issues in joining. So how about we go to the next question and come back so that we don't use up a lot of our time. How does it sound to you all? Like the panelists can let me know.
Yeah, I think we can move ahead, and maybe
Yeah.
if you would like, we all can maybe discuss what's left.
Yeah. So we'll come back to the essays later. Okay.
Okay.
So let's talk about the LORs and additional documents. So,
Oh, hi.
oh, you're
Okay, I
back.
managed to come back. Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
okay. That's perfect. That's perfect. Uh,
Um, I'm on
so
my phone now, unfortunately,
yeah, it's
but
yeah. You can speak verbally,
So I
even if
think
you
one
can't
of us
share.
yeah,
can share the
Yeah.
document, if
yeah,
that's.
that would be helpful.
Could you share it, like to us, like?
I think I put the link in the chat.
Oh,
Okay, thank you,
Okay, can
Fatima.
you guys, yeah.
Yeah, maybe if you
If you
can
can
just
pin
scroll up to the second
the link
point.
of the document, I think it will be visible to everyone.
yeah.
If you can
Yeah,
pin the link.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, sorry about the network issues, but basically, yeah, the first option to find a mentor is to make a list of universities, look at the faculty pages, and then see if there's faculty that align with your interest, and you can shortlist them. It's maybe good to like keep it in like a spreadsheet. That's a good way to keep track. The other option is that, when you're reading the review papers or you're reading studies from that area of interest, you can look at the author lists and see where those labs are based. And that's one way to make a list of potential mentors. The only downside to that is that, when you're reading like the initial papers in that field, they tend to be the most famous and popular labs, which can sometimes be difficult to get into, but don't let that like discourage you. You can also go on Google Scholar and browse through profiles of scientists based on certain like keywords. This is also another helpful way. Yeah, so just keep adding like onto this list of mentors. Don't stop, and then towards the end, you can pick the 5 out of those that you find the most interesting or the most appealing. I would. I know that we're pretty close to the deadline, but if time permits, I would highly recommend like reaching out to these potential mentors and speaking to them. And the main reason is that they can tell you about the kind of research that's happening in their lab, and this can help you like craft a more like detailed research statement. So I guess the third question was, so there's 3 essays. You have a research statement, a statement of purpose, which is sometimes abbreviated as SOP, and then you have a summary of past experience. And so basically in your research statement, you're talking about what is your general area of interest in biology, and then what is the research that you want to do as a Khorana scholar. Those are the 2 main questions you're trying to answer. For your statement of purpose, it's less about your research that you want to do as a Khorana scholar, more about you as a person. So, who are you academically speaking? So, what is your current degree? What is your current position? Maybe you can talk a little bit about your journey through science. So, talk about how you got interested in the areas that you're currently interested in. You want to talk about your short and your long term goals, and then why this fellowship is important to you, and how it's important to those short and long term goals. And I'll go over this in a little bit more detail. So, the first essay that you're trying to put together is this is point number 4, which is putting your research statement together. And essentially, a good way to like go about structuring it or trying to put together the points would be is you want to first introduce the broad area of interest. So in this case, it's like, oh, I'm broadly interested in AMR. And don't just put obviously the one sentence, you talk a little bit more about it. And you want to introduce the big picture. So why should people care about this research? Why is it important? You want to use quantitative data wherever possible, substantiate why it's important, so you can talk about how many people are affected by that, or how much it like those problems may be costing the economy. They can also be like intellectual questions. So what are like the gaps in our understanding? But you really want to drive home that this research is important. Then you want to like go down that pyramid. So you want to begin to like gently introduce the reader to your more specific interests. Be like, oh, for example, I'm interested in the role of transposons in AMR. And there will be the people who are evaluating it. They're all generally biologists, but they may not be like specialists in your field. So you definitely want to take maybe a couple of sentences to introduce any key concepts that you think your reader should know about what you're trying to talk to them about. And after you've introduced like the subfield that you're interested in, talk about the questions. So it's very helpful to like frame research in the form of what is the question you're trying to ask. I know it's difficult and it does not have to be super specific. So you can just say like, oh, I'm interested in how transposons mediate the exchange of AMR genes in a clinical setting. Or another example I gave is, oh, I want to understand how cross-species exchange is mediated by transposons, or whatever it may be for your field. Then you want to briefly describe the current state of knowledge, like what do people currently understand about it and what the gaps are. So what are the things we know, what are the things we don't know or we don't understand really well. And then you want to like go into essentially briefly outlining the approach that one could take. This isn't about like the exact experiments you will do, what controls they will have, but it's just, it helps the reader know that, okay, this is a student who understands the research area, who understands the research question, and who understands the general approaches that scientists tend to use in that field. So an example I gave here is like, we can take a computational approach and analyze genome sequencing data from patients infected with AMR. And this is also a good point to introduce your potential mentors, and you can briefly, in 1 or 2 sentences, describe their research areas and how it's relevant to your the interest that you express. So you can be like, oh, Professor XYZ works on salmonella antibiotic resistance. And I know this is hard. It's really difficult to put together a good statement, especially if it's a field that you're unfamiliar with. There's really only one solution to it, and it's to read, and then read some more. This will help you, give you the background information of what are the questions people are interested in this field, what are the approaches they tend to use to answer these questions. And I think the goal of your research statement is to not be so broad that it looks like you're an unfocused student who doesn't really know what they're doing, but you also don't want it to be like super duper duper specific. There's like a good like middle spot, and basically it conveys competence that, yeah, this is a student who understands their research area and they have a general direction that they want to put in. The next essay is you want to put together a statement of purpose. So good places to introduce yourself, introduce again your general area of interest, your current position or your degree that you are pursuing. Then you want to talk a little bit about how you came to be interested in these topics. You know, people like reading stories. Storytelling is a really important thing when we're writing essays. Definitely avoid like childhood stories being like, oh, when I was 5 years old, I went to the zoo and I looked at the giraffes and I've been interested in giraffes since then. You definitely want to take a more like professional approach. So talk about the experiences you've had after school, and you know, what were the events that led you to your current interests? Maybe you did a project in some area. Maybe you read a certain paper. Maybe you went to some talk that really excited your interest. So tell that story. It's very engaging for people to read. Then you want to talk about your short-term goals. So what are the things that you want maybe from the next like 5 years of your life? This varies greatly for people, but is it you want to do a PhD? Maybe you're a doctor and you want to go into clinical practice. Maybe there's another job you want in industry. But it's good to like talk about that short-term goal. And you also want to talk about your long-term goals. So these are the things you would want to maybe achieve over your lifetime. So what are the things that are important to you? So the example I gave for me is like, oh, I really enjoy having independence in my research. I like teaching. I like writing. I don't work with patients, but that's just another example. So what are those key things that motivate you? Talk about those goals. And then finally, to tie it all together, you want to talk about how the Khorana Fellowship is going to help you achieve these goals. So for example, the fellowship may be important. Maybe you're looking to switch fields, and then the fellowship can give you exposure to this new field. Maybe you're trying to experience different research cultures. Maybe you're trying to learn techniques that you don't have access to currently. Maybe you want to go into a PhD and you want some like key research experience. Maybe you're currently already working on a research project and you'd want to like broaden the scope of that. Whatever it may be, really drive home the point of, how does the Khorana Fellowship help you achieve both your short and long-term goals? Over here, you can also talk about like non-academic science stuff. So if you do any outreach, you do science writing, you're involved in some clubs and things like that. I think that's also a good space to talk about those aspects. The last thing essay that you kind of want to put together is your summary of past experience. And really the goal of this is to convey to the what do you say, the reader or the people evaluating it, is that yeah, you have some experience. Again, they're not looking for like the most polished student who have the most experience, someone who's already like has multiple papers, yada yada. I didn't have a paper when I was applying. That's an unrealistic expectation for like an undergraduate student. They just want to know that you dipped your toes in some research or maybe through your coursework. And so I think a helpful approach is to like list experiences in chronological order. Maybe you can be like, in my first year, I did this workshop or this experience. In my second year, I did this, blah, 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 blah. Some examples of experience that I think you can include here. So it would be any research that you did in a lab. Maybe it was an internship. It could be, again, in academia, or you did an internship in industry or in a hospital. Any workshops that you may have taken, and then any classes and that you may have taken. Again, while you were talking about your projects, a good set of like points to cover is, who was the project with? What was the big picture question you were trying to answer? And again, avoid too much jargon. Then you want to particularly talk about what you did in that project. Maybe what are some of the techniques you learned or you used? And then finally, you want to talk about how that internship affected your academic journey. Maybe it helped you realize you were interested in the field. Maybe it helped you realize you're not interested in that field. Whatever it may be. This is also the good essay to include any achievements that you consider to be like something that you want to like show off. So any scholarships that you've had, any presentations that you've given, posters, any awards if they were related to like academics or science, definitely put that in there. You have to like master the art of bragging without making it seem like you're bragging. So be humble, but definitely, put your achievements in there because they do make an impression. Finally, some general guidelines while writing is try to tell it like a story that's really always engaging to read. And, when one paragraph connects well to the next one, there's just one cohesive narrative. Using AI to write, it's fine to like get some ideas or maybe polish your writing, but like asking it to write your statements is just a bad idea. AI tends to write really generic garbage. So in my opinion, you can skip most of it. Once you're done writing, or maybe you're getting stuck somewhere, definitely have a few friends read it. If you have a professor or a teacher that you're close with, definitely have them read it, or maybe another graduate student, they have a little bit more experience. Use tools like Grammarly. There's a bunch of them to like check for spelling and writing. And another helpful thing is if you break your essay up into like paragraphs, and then each paragraph has a subheading, it makes it really easy for the reader to know where to look for information. And maybe finally, just to like sign off, I included like the essays that I wrote for my application. It's just a reference. This is not the only way one could write it, but it clearly did work, so I must have done something right. But yeah, don't copy, but definitely use it as like a guideline of how one could structure it. I hope it helps. I think there's a bunch of questions, so if there's any, I'm happy to take them.
That was very comprehensive, and thank you so much. Like, I would have loved to listen to this if I were applying this year. So thank you so much. Is there something which other scholars and panelists would like to add? Sambit, do you want to add on something related to the summary of past experience? And one specific question I would like to shoot here is there a minimum threshold of research projects or publications required in a specific field, or like how does it impact their application? Are there essential skills or tools one should be familiar with before applying? And is prior research experience a deal breaker per se? And lastly, do ongoing projects count towards the application?
Uh, First of all, if you don't have any prior experience, you could mention your courses. Like if you have any practical subjects such as microbiology, you could emphasize that I have learned PCR, cloning, and DNA isolation, all the small stuffs in your experience part that will make an impression. So, and those who have some prior experiences, please emphasize on your work more. Like just mention the bigger question you have asked, then how did you proceed, and mention all the troubleshoot you have faced during your internships. So that will make you feel that you're more interested in research. So in my application, I didn't mention any prior publication because I didn't had any. So it's not a deal breaker at all. And you could also mention some online courses such as bioinformatics, which I have learned from YouTube. So I just mentioned I've learned. So these are the things you can include. And many of you guys who are working on ongoing project under your home institute professor, please mention that as well. And what you are doing, what are the skills you are learning, and in fact, many of you must have working under any PhDs or any of your seniors. You could just briefly tell about their projects, what they are trying to achieve, and how you are involving in that project, and what you have learned during the process, and what are the troubleshoots and problem you are facing, and how do you solve it. You could mention all the things. So it's, if you don't have any prior experience, it's not a deal breaker at all. Just mention your course or your skills.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Thank you so much. I think one thing we all will agree is, irrespective of what experiences or numbers or percentages or CGPAs we might have had previously, Mm, one thing is one specific thing is not the deal breaker per se, and your application would be looked at holistically, and one aspect can compensate for the other, and it is essential that above all, even if you don't have prior research experience, your essays showing how dedicated you are and how you look forward to this scholarship can make or break, right? If anybody else has any other insights to add on, please do, or we can go to the next question.
Hi. So regarding making the application, so I've seen a lot of people, they're reaching out to the past scholars on LinkedIn or something, or some social platform. So what people are doing is like they're asking 10 or 15 people the same things. So the same SOP is getting reviewed by 10 or 15 people, and everybody is like suggesting their own kind of experiences, and in the end the person is again confused. He's like, so what should I put? So one person is saying that you can put in 5 6, you should put in 5 6 research experiences, and one person is like, no, don't put so many of them because you're just an undergraduate, and in the end he's confused. So I believe you should follow one or two people at max, and you should listen to them, and you should frame your application. In case you are seeking some mentorship from them, don't be so confused. Don't ask so many people, and you're unnecessarily just complicating your process. So that's just the advice I want to give, because since the deadline is very near, and I know everybody here has so many people, Pauras especially, he has so many people coming for advice, so many medical students. So yeah, this is my only advice.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add on is, like, just don't ask previous colleges to just directly give their own research statements or SOPs, because like everybody's journey is different, and you should be writing your own journey and what your life goals are, not of somebody else's. And rightfully, Ira, Sambit, and Archit have given wonderful advice on how to structure your essays well. So maybe you can now go forward, and maybe immediately after this meeting you can start writing your essays uh, immediately. So thank you so much everyone for this guidance. Now, going forward, my question to Tejas would be, can you share the requirements of letter of recommendations, that is LORs, in terms of how many are needed, who should write them, what should they include, the format, whom to approach, whether the designation matters, and all of the aspects related to the letters of recommendation, and additional documents which are asked in the application.
Yeah, so I will cover up the LORs and additional documents. So from the site, if you read carefully, it is basically mentioned that each candidate is required to at least submit 2 recommendation letters. And so basically, the letters can be from a teacher, professor who has taught you any courses or has been a supervisor in the lab under which you have done training or internships. So the format basically for the recommendation letter is that the references should be provided in like a official letterhead with the referee's signature as well as the stamp. And the letterhead basically with the institution's name and everything should be mentioned. And so the recommendation letters can be submitted in 2 ways. So either the PI can submit write the recommendation letter and give it to you, and you can upload it in the application along with your application. But if the PI wants to keep it confidential, he can also directly send the recommendation letter to the email scholar@iustf.org. With basically, they have to make sure that they write the candidate's name, the institution or the university in the subject line before sending it. And please go behind your PI and keep reminding them about the LORs, because once the deadline is over, even submitting like maybe 1 hour or 2 hours after the deadline, sometimes they will not entertain that, and you might miss your opportunity. So please go behind your PI and ask them to submit the LORs before the deadline. And so basically I will clarify some of the doubts which basically arose from that. So can we get LORs from faculty who did not supervise us, or how do you decide which faculty to approach for LORs? So my personal opinion will be that you should get LOR from someone who knows you personally and professionally. And it can be basically from any faculty, like maybe it does not have to be from your own institute. It can be from outside, like maybe you worked somewhere, you did like a small project somewhere outside your university. So it can be from them. And basically it should be someone who can, defend you or back you up on what your interests are, who knows you basically, what your interests are and what you're good at, what you're not good at. Because all these you have to mention in the recommendation letter, your skills, your leadership skills or your teamwork skills. And basically a personal LOR is like 100 times much better than like a generic one. So don't think like, I just need one LOR, so I'll just talk to a professor today and then, ask him for LOR. Please don't do that. If you have someone who knows you for a long time, please go and ask them for like a letter of recommendation. And in that case, I don't think the ranks of professors matter much. I would just basically go with the one who can defend me well and knows me personally. And would a letter of recommendation from a non-biology research project guide be relevant? So I would say non-biology. So this is basically like a biology related research internship. So try to get professors in the biology field, but if you are not able to satisfy that within your 2 LORs, then there is always an option. He can also basically defend you about how you are overall as a person and how you take up different projects, whether it is biology or not. That kind of adds to your interdisciplinary background also. So if you can get from biology field, it is good. But if not, that is also fine. Non-biology also works totally. So no need to worry about that. And what should we get who should we get letters of recommendation from if we haven't specifically done lab research courses? Well, you can basically get from your teaching instructors who have taught you courses, or lab instructors. They also have taught you various skills, right? So you can always consult them if you don't have any prior internships or any kind of lab research experience. You can always go to your faculty teachers or your lab instructors and ask them to give you a recommendation letter. And what to upload in the additional document section. So in my application, I had uploaded my CV, and as well as so I had already had a contact with one of the US professors, and I had asked him for an invitation letter from the host university So I kind of attached that as well as the CV and the additional documents. But and someone was also asking if you need to attach more than two LORs in the like maybe in the additional section or not. I mean, my per se, so they have mentioned that you need only two LORs, and if you add more than two, they might not even look at it because they are going to basically judge everyone from two LORs because that is the criteria. And additional document section, you can basically use it for supporting your application, like maybe put like a compilation of your achievements, like CV or something, and maybe some competitions that you have participated in, all the certificates, maybe some publications you had, you can put in that. Yeah, so these are the stuff that you have to take care while, for the LORs and the additional documents. Uh, yeah, that is, so did I miss anything for it?
I mean, that sounds like everything uh, was addressed. Does anybody want to add something to that? I guess not. So now coming to the next question, which a lot of people might be having, and we did get a lot of questions in the registration form, is like, how does one make your application better? Like, what is more important? What is less important? So Ishan, can you go over the selection criteria as stated by the program, and even in your opinion, how are the different factors like CGPA, previous research experience, statement, SOP, LORs weighed against each other during the selection process? And how does a successful application look like in general?
All right. Thank you, Pauras. So I'll just read out the selection criteria and then we can discuss it further. So the eligible application. So this is from the FAQs document of the Khorana scholarship program. It's available on their website. So they are further reviewed and shortlisted by subject experts based on the following criteria: academic background and credentials, research interests, project ideas, career goals, research experience, technical background, other internships, courses, lab work, the need to conduct research in the US, and publications, poster presentations, conference participation, etc. So they have kind of, since the time we applied, they have kind of modified the selection criteria a bit. The need to conduct research in the US is a relatively newer criteria, and this is in lines with their preference for people who have not been to the US previously, right? As a medical student perspective, and perhaps as an undergrad, most of us do not have an international research experience. But what the main aim of this program is to provide us with a kind of a career trajectory so that we can actually navigate our research paths, right? So in terms of the academic background and credentials, so I feel that your core CGPA, your core academic percentage doesn't per se matter if it's like in accordance with the required eligibility criteria. It is more about what work you have done in terms of the relevant, maybe some research experience, or you have participated in conferences. I know as a med student, it can be tough in terms of the curriculum, and I feel a lot of people from pure sciences have more experience in terms of that. But I feel they include all kinds of research, so it's not limited to you would say a wet bench work, wet lab experience, or even a translational experience, or even just a retrospective clinical research. So everything is important. And from what I could understand, from my application, is that every question of the application is important. So there is no question which you can ignore. And I feel the more time you spend on your application, you are able to realize that, oh yeah, this is something I need to work on. Okay, this is something which could work best for me. So in terms of the project ideas and career goals, I feel that this is something which could have actually guide help you guide your what is the statement of purpose, what you want to do in terms of research, in terms of your career path, and how is that. So the statement of purpose should also be based on, so from I am from where, and like why does the work what I am doing currently, and why does the work I would like to do in the future, how does it link to what I have previously done. So this is something which gives the entire story. In terms of your research experience may not be too much, but yeah, that gives you a story which is very important. They want to fund people who don't have those kind of resources to get exposure to cutting edge research. Yeah, but they want such people, such talented people, to come back to India to get that kind of exposure. So that is the main aim of this program, right? So you have to be very careful when you're wording each of your words in the statement of purpose. It should highlight that you have some higher purpose, something which you want to maybe give back, maybe give to the scientific community, maybe give to your country, something of that sort, right? In terms of technical background, research experience, again, if you have done some wet lab work, you have experience in maybe molecular biology techniques, or you have some experience in AI, in machine learning, anything of that sort, you have done some computational work, everything is important, right? So there should be a column in your the past research experience which says, yeah, so this is the lab experience in terms of, let's say, research studies. So I have done prospective research, I have done qualitative research, I have done systematic reviews. So all of these are kind of the skills and the kind of things which we acquire while we are in the process of that. So you are working on a review, so you can always write it as, so this is the title, this is my PI, he or she is the guide, and the status is ongoing, or we have prepared the manuscript has been submitted. So all of that, so this research experience matters, right? Because you are not an established researcher, you are still a student, right? Ultimately what matters is your intent to do something meaningful, to contribute to science, to contribute to research. Okay. Other internships, courses, lab works. So yeah, so in terms of courses, if you have attended any workshops, any technical trainings, so those show that you're actually interested in doing more of this. And then, so if you're here for like say 10 weeks, 12 weeks, I'm not sure that you will be able to contribute to some maybe paradigm changing thing in science. No, but you will get the hang of what is going on. You will establish a long lasting connection with your PI in the US if you have done some really good work, and this will actually help you navigate your future research this thing. So your experience, your in terms of core skills, what you have, if you're able to reflect that in your past research experience, I feel that is more important to them. This is what they are looking for. And this also comes in line with the need to conduct research in the US. So I have, so from my application, I wrote that I've seen how things work in the US, in India, back in my country. I know some of the more exciting things which are going on in the US and which we may not have the access to. And I want to get hands on those technologies, those resources, and learn from that experience. That is my need to conduct research in the US. So yeah, and the last point is publications and presentations. So yeah, as a student, again, you will not be able to complete all projects, or all projects may be at different stages of completion. So presentations are a great way of connecting with people, with like-minded people, with experts in that field, and learning. So you can get a research question by meeting people in that conference, and you feel that, oh, this is a lacuna in what research I have been doing, and maybe we can formulate a research project and address that lacuna. So I've tried to, I think, cover what uh, everything is, but yeah, I guess we can talk more about the LORs. So LORs need not be from someone who the Department of Biotechnology or the Indo-US Science and Technology Forum people know, right? It's not possible to know research faculty in all institutions, but it should be personal. It should be from a person who has known you for a long time. The more the length of time in terms of the contact with your PI, the stronger your LOR will be. He or she is better able to analyze how you are as a person, how you are in terms of your teamwork, how you are in terms of your academics, how you are in terms of your inquisitiveness and your intent to do research. So these things matter. These things should highlight in your LOR that he or she is motivated, and he or she takes the initiative to do research. That is what is most important. Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful, like, and quite comprehensive and detailed explanation, point wise, from what information is given by the program itself, as well as personal insights on each of those. Now, my question to all the scholars, one by one, like in a quick, like few words or one sentence maximum, on the lines of, in your opinion, what essential components of your CV specifically contributed the most to your selection as a scholar? Or like, what do you believe was your specific quality that made you stand out in a competitive pool of applicants, considering many will have similar experiences and grades? We can go one by Ishan. Could you like go first?
Sure. So again, so this is like an amazing question, and this is like something which I've been asked time and again. So what makes your experience unique is should be there in your statement of purpose, right? Maybe a line or two. But kind of like what I was doing 2 years, 3 years ago, what I am doing now, and what I want to do later on. It should it's always, it's not possible, to expect that I have been working in the same research area. As a student, you explore different fields, right? But you have to tell your journey. You have to try to narrate your journey from the time you started your research, now where you stand, and what do you want to do in the future, how the US experience will help you, right? And that is what is unique. So everyone will have some presentations, everyone will have some publications, everyone may have stronger LORs, right? But your story is your story. So that is what builds the most important part of your application. A strong statement of purpose says that okay, he or she might not have the access to those many resources. Oh, his college might not be that supportive, his curriculum may be tough, but this is the person who will do something, who will give back to science, will give back to the society. So that is what makes your application unique.
Yeah, that sounds very motivating and heartfelt. Tejas?
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to answer this question because I clearly don't know what was in their mind when they were checking my application. But I think maybe a few points like I maybe participation in like I had participation in a few scientific research competitions like IGEM, and having like a good SOP and an essay like where you clearly, there is like a good flow and how you started your journey and then where you want to go, where you see yourself in like few years later down the line. If you have like that frame clearly, they know where have you come from, and then what are your goals and where do you want to reach. So if you can, portray that into their minds, then it's a good thing. And since I was talking about LORs, so I'll again emphasize that having good LORs is really, really important because you can bluff anything, I guess, in your essays, but your professors are the ones because they want to have a third opinion and want to see whether this person, whatever he's saying, is it right or wrong. Whether there is someone who can support you, who can defend you, who can back you up. So yeah, and having good LORs is also really nice. So maintain good touch with your professors as well.
Yeah, that's great. Like, I think even I would personally concur with what Ishan and Tejas said. Archit, would you like to speak briefly about this? Like,
So yeah, so as you mentioned briefly, so I'll just keep it in one line. So I believe, I'll be honest. So I believe I had two acceptances from, one was from Harvard, Dana Farber, and the other one was from MIT. So I believe I attached both of them with my application. So I believe that was the strongest point. Otherwise, I don't think so because I've been reviewing some applications from the prospective applicants, and I think it is very hard to choose some people out of them because everybody is writing so nice these days. So I think that was a point which stood out. So yeah.
yeah. Sambit?
I think for me, prior research experiences worked out. So I had done 3 internships before I applied for the Khorana fellowship. I have done some coursework, and I've also done some research work in my home institute. I think that stand out in my application. Apart from that, I would highly suggest to write your essays and research statement and SOPs in a story way with a good flow, not randomly or AI generated. Just make your own story. That will work, I believe.
Yeah. Ira?
Yeah, so I think for me personally, because I was at ICER, I had like the privilege to do some prior research experiences, and they were in like very different fields of biology. So I definitely emphasized the fact that I had this very interdisciplinary skill set and this interdisciplinary background in research. That was a big factor. And I think the other one um, was that I had a fairly clear idea on the particular kind of research I was interested in doing for my Khorana fellowship. I was able to propose the research questions that I wanted to do, and I was able to like broadly outline the research that I wanted to do. And I think that demonstrated a certain degree of like knowledge and competence and the ability to do research. Again, I'm not certain what they found attractive in mine, but I think those are probably the two strongest suits for me.
Yeah. Actually, exactly what you said at the end is like we as scholars, like we can only guess what we felt was the deal breaker. Like there's no way to know unless you all speak to the deciding panel itself. So Fatima, would you like to briefly mention what you felt was the
Yes.
strongest part?
I'll just add one line. I feel I added, it's very important to add in all your past project experiences. Even if you think it is not valuable, maybe you are thinking that, okay, I did not get a publication out of this. So this is not valuable, it's vague. But I would suggest all of you to add in any project, any experience that you have to, kind of include it in your SOP. And the other thing, very briefly, I would say is that your SOP should be genuine. It should be your own story. Please do not, I think so, Ira did mention it. Please do not use any AI tools for writing your SOP or research statement, any part of your application, because it gets very vague and it's not good. So it should be your story. It should be genuine. It should be truthful. It should portray why is it that you want to do research. Why is it that you want to go to US and spend a summer? It should basically, and of course, give back to the society and everything. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. I mean, to summarize from what everybody said, one thing I would say is like just think of this application as Shark Tanks, where like essentially they're funding you. They're putting like what 3,000 plus or like even 4,000 US dollars into yours plus the whole administrative fees. So they wanted they want their money to be like used well. So you have to basically convince them, and through your story, through everything, that come on, this is the guy, this is the girl we want to fund. So I think that's what should be your uh, view or vision, and then you can like go forward with the application accordingly. Now, one last topic we want to address is how is the timeline and how the internship detail, like how the internship goes and how's the logistics and other aspects. So, I would like to ask Tejas, could you explain the timeline of the application process as well as the post acceptance, post internship processes, briefly, and in terms of like how stipends are like received and like how do you choose mentors and a lot of like and the other aspects when it comes through going through this journey of the application and thereafter.
Yeah, sure. I can briefly touch upon all those things. I'll try at least.
Yeah.
So for the timeline of the application, Fatima had already mentioned some of it. So application has already like started, and the deadline is basically like October 7th. And from the second week of October till the third week of December, there will be like a rigorous screening from the committee, and they'll be going through all the applications. And by the end of December, you'll probably be hearing about the awardees announcement. And just after that, basically from January to March, the Khorana committee will be in touch with all those who have received the scholarship, and they will be able to help you with getting placements in the US. If you already have a US host who is ready, then you are like a little bit, you get like a head start. But if you don't worry. The Khorana Scholars, I mean, the Khorana committee will definitely be able to help you in getting a placement. And by May, there is like an orientation where they will kind of tell you what would you expect from the internship and how the things work in the US, like a general overview. And by the end of the year, that is like in December or like January of the next year, there will be like a nice symposium where you kind of get to meet all your fellow Khorana people and get to interact with them, see how their stories are, like what they did, how their experiences went. And so the entire duration of the internship is basically like 10 or 12 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks. And you can get an extension with like requests and permission from the Khorana as well as your, I mean, the your institution basically, if they allow it or not. And so post acceptance processes, basically, you have to first of all connect with your PI and the administrative team from your host university in the US, and you will basically tag along with them in the admin section, and you basically have to get done with your paperworks. There is one document called the DS 2019. And few other documents, which the details you will have to submit to them, and they will start issuing that paperwork. And as soon as you get them, you should start applying for your J1 exchange visitor visa as soon as you can, because it can get a little tricky at the end to get the slots for your visa. Visa. I mean, I remember we had trouble, a few of us had trouble getting it because it was just full, the visa slots. And post that, you have to book your flights. Again, this booking of the flights will be done by the Khorana committee. They will give you a list of flight options based on your travel date and your return date, and you have to basically select from that. And you have to also get your health insurance. So this you will have to pay beforehand, and the Khorana will literally reimburse you after the end of the program. And after that, you will have to collect the Forex card. Basically, it's like a international debit card, and it will have your money, like $3,000 loaded in it, the stipend money all together at once. So you can just go there and use it like a debit card in the US. It's from Thomas Cook. That is the company that is giving you the Forex card.
I think
And
there's
so
a change in this. Sorry to interrupt. So
yeah.
I think they have made it something like, so they have made the $3,000. So they'll give the first 90% initially, and then after submission of report and all, they'll give the remaining amount.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
that.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for that. Yeah. Okay. And so after the internship, you basically have to submit like a detailed report of your internship and also like a mentor feedback form that you have to give to the mentor, and then he has to fill it up and submit it back. And you have to fill the health insurance reimbursement form. And again, like the symposium is there, you get to meet your fellow Khorana scholars and you get your award. Yeah. And so the internship logistics, there were some questions. I will just address them. One was to how to frame the email that is sent to a professor. Well, for emailing the professors, I would go with like a very simple short format, because again, the professors are quite busy. They don't have time to read like chunks of long emails in paragraphs in the email. So keep it simple, keep it short, and keep it nice though. So introduce yourself maybe like in like one or two lines. Where are you from? And then say how you found about the lab and the professor. Basically, maybe from a paper or something. What are your interests and how it aligns with the lab's interests, the research that they do, and say that basically, so going a little bit extra, you can also maybe read one or two of the papers, and then frame a question or whatever was curious about the paper. You really like this experiment or this aspect of the paper, that kind of adds little touch to your email. And then you should also mention that you are applying for the Khorana program, and then you would like to consider them as a mentor, or the internship, yeah, mentor. And you should mention that if selected for the program, that you will be getting a stipend, which will cover most of your expenses and the health insurance. So, because many professors look for the fact that if you are funded or not, because sometimes they might not have funds to take you in, but if you come in hand with fund, they are more than happy to take you in, because they will have space, but they might not have fund at the moment. So if you tell that if you are selected for the program, then you will get this much amount of funding, then they're more than happy to take you in. So also attach like a short CV of yours, for them to have a look into your background, past background, instead of writing everything down in the email. Just attach your CV, telling what you did in your previous years and stuff. And yeah, so don't be hesitant to write to big pros in like big universities, because chances are that you might actually get in. Because many of us got into really huge universities. Like I got into Dana-Farber, which is like associated with Harvard University. So even Pauras got into Johns Hopkins. So yeah, don't be hesitant to write to big pros. Yeah, it's just that you can actually get in. So don't be hesitant about that. And can the mentors be from any US university or some specific one? So I would say if the professor is ready to host you, then there is no restrictions as such. You can basically go in and do your internship there. But if the university has some problems or some regulations, then you can't do it basically. So you have to talk with your PI first, and then see if this is feasible or not, and how to know about the labs in which we can work. So again, you can contact some of your seniors who are in the US doing some maybe PhD or some other masters or something, and then check with them how the universities are, how the professors are. And a good way also is to go through the Khorana awardees list, and then check who was working with which prof and at which university. And it's usually a good idea to go back to the same profs and who have already hosted Khorana Scholars, because the process is kind of already smoothened out. So it'll be much faster, because I've seen some of the institutes were taking really long time to process the J1 visa documents file, because they have not done it before for this program as such. So yeah, it's much smoother if you already go to a lab which has already hosted Khorana Scholars before. And do we need to have an existing project, or we can just start afresh? So mostly you can just start afresh. You'll be like basically tagging along with like a PhD or a postdoc, and then they will basically teach you different things, and they'll make you part of their project. You can have like an independent work also. All these are all like the internal dynamics. It all depends upon your PI and stuff. If you have like a small independent project, you can do it. But do make sure to get in touch with your PI, and then like you make sure what your goals are or what your interests are. You communicate with that to him, so he can appropriately place you in a project beforehand. And which visa will be needed for the research program? So as I mentioned, the J1 exchange visitor visa is the most common one, but I guess some people did also go with the F1. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can also, I guess, go with the F1 visa. Yeah, and also apply at least 3 to 4 months before the program start dates, because it can be tricky to get these slots. And there was question about how to adapt to the daily challenges while managing the scholarship. Well, I guess the most tough challenges, like cooking food after you are like drained out. So if you are new to cooking, then it might just take like a few days to get adjusted. You'll just look into YouTube and then do some basic cooking. That's it. Yeah, it won't be much of a hectic thing. After a few weeks, you'll just get used to it. And it all depends about the lab, so how much work they want to get done. But mostly, most of the PIs are okay with you doing like a decent amount of work because it's just a 3 months project. And yeah, it again depends on you how much work you want to put in also. Yeah. So, and then there was question about how much finance or money do you carry with yourself while traveling, and is there any tips to save money? So I would say carry some liquid cash, definitely, like maybe $200 or something, because just in case you will definitely have like a forex card, but it may or may not work with some apps or something. So definitely carry some liquid cash in case of emergency. I would recommend like $200 or something, and keep it in like changes, because some people don't take, maybe they might not have change for that. So yeah, keep it in like changes of $10, $50 or something. And do you need an extra forex card? I would say like you can actually get an extra forex card, because when we had the thing, so the forex card, we could not reload it again if the money was over. So you can actually get maybe an extra forex card from India, which you are able to reload from India. Your parents can maybe reload it for you if you ever need like money in emergency. And maybe if like tips to save money, like you have a lot of referral programs here in the apps. So once you all come here, like your cohort comes here, you can send each other like a lot of grocery apps are there like DoorDash and stuff. So you can send the referral codes, which will you can save money for both of you or like each other, etc. And the total expenses are, is it covered by the stipend? So it depends actually from state to state. So for me, I was in the Boston area, which is quite expensive area, but I stayed in the suburbs of Boston, so I could it was a shared living, so I could reduce my rent cost. So the costly thing, or the things which will take up most of your money is like the rent and the groceries. So if you are like, if you can adjust with that, maybe if the transportation in the city is really good, which I had in Boston, that's why I could, manage living in the suburbs with a lower rent. And yeah, groceries might come maybe like $100 to $200 per month. So you can kind of get by, I guess, nearly with the $3,000 that they're giving you. But it's good that you have some additional money in case you need it. Yeah, because you're coming to a new state, definitely enjoy some of the cultural and stuff. Don't be like trying to save and conserve money, because it's once in a lifetime opportunity. So try to enjoy yourself also a little bit while you're here, and whether the university environment is friendly or not. So most of the university environment was friendly. We had the symposium, and I heard great stories, some great stories from some people. Some did not have that much of a good stay, but yeah, it depends from state to state. So you can contact maybe previous Khorana scholars and know how the environment was, university environment was. But in general, I really enjoyed it. The people in the city and even the lab were like really good. There was like a lot of cultural diversity. So yeah, it was really nice experience.
Thank you so much for
I hope I
sharing that,
covered.
Tejas. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing, because like this is one of the things which prospective applicants really want to know about when it comes to their, because they are putting a lot of money and time into that. I would like to add on something personally as well. When it comes to visa, like most scholars go on J1 or F1 visa, but if it's acceptable to the university itself, you can even go on B1, B2 visa. Essentially, I think more so it happens for medical students, because for medical students there is one clause under the B1, B2 visa. I don't exactly remember the number of it, but where we can go for clinical electives as well as research electives, but we shouldn't have direct contact with any patients per se. So that is something which you'll have to discuss with your like university later on, and I don't think that should be a concern right now. for you. But as Ira rightly mentioned, that on B1, B2, you won't be getting paid from your host lab, because some of those, like many of the scholars, did get a stipend even from their host universities, if I'm not wrong. So that is something which you would like to consider. Similarly, one question from the chat I would like to take was about uh, sorry, like not from the chat, from the, I think I forgot what exactly it was, but nonetheless. So now, as the last thing in the webinar, I would like to ask a few questions for our people, for our panelists who are medical students, because of the very nature of the course being 5 years, and the clinical postings, and less amount of summer vacations and winter vacations, and medical schools being more strict, in my opinion. So I think it is good if we could address those. Similarly, I'd also ask some other doubts in the meanwhile, like in the same flow. Basically, let us have, like, open the dais for the questions. So first question in general to all the panelists are, if an applicant's college or institution is not among the popular ones in their state, how much weight do you do a strong SORL or carry in the selection process?
Okay, so I can
Sure.
tell a little bit of what I think about it. So your college does not matter. The degree that you're doing does not matter. How you are doing that degree, how you are as a student, that's what matters. Your professor's title also doesn't matter when they are giving an LOR. It does not matter. The content of the letter is what is important. So rather worrying about your college's reputation, I would suggest to worry a little bit about the application, right? Your SOP and
Thank
research statement. So it doesn't actually matter from how big or how, worthy an institution you come from. So yeah.
Thank you so much. The other questions are: were you required to participate in an interview as a part of the admission process? If so, what questions were asked? I'll ask it, answer it directly, that no, there was no interview. And somebody is also asking for a comprehensive list of documents, as they couldn't find it on the website. So I would suggest you to start an application. You can log into the portal, and you can get the application directly, and you can see it, like, that would give you a ready-made list of, and you can save it and submit it later as well. So that would help you. Now, some medical student specific doubts are like, uh, how this scholarship might impact USMLE outcomes by providing access to prestigious institutions like Harvard. Ishan or Archit, you can go ahead.
So I don't think so. The motive of the scholarship is USMLE. So I don't know why every medical student is like using it as a stepping stone. No, I'm like, they are not using it. I wouldn't say using it. Those who have been there, but the ones who are prospectively applying for it, they want to use it as a stepping stone for the USMLE journey. So I saw a question in the chat box as well. So she was asking, how do I manage MLE with my exams and with the she's calling this as an elective. So I'll I'll not call it as an elective. So the motive of this program is not to like help you in your USMLE journey. If you are planning for USMLE, yeah, it can help you, but don't use it as a stepping stone. It'll obviously help you. Like I went to Johns Hopkins, so it is the best for medicine, I believe. So yeah, you can make connections there. You can, so don't go there to make just connections for USMLE. Like you can, connections are an added advantage, I believe. So yeah, so you can make them, and surely they can help you. So you can go to Harvard. So one of my friends, he's from AIMS Rishikesh. So he is in Harvard right now. So, but he didn't go there for MLE purpose. Like he got Khorana, and he is not working there so that he can secure a position through MLE. So he's working in a purely research lab. He's working on zebrafish, which I believe is the right approach for this kind of thing.
I would concur with that. In fact, somebody just asked me today that can people who are not planning USMLE apply? I was like, bro, I think 90% of the Khorana scholars are not even medical students. So,
Yeah.
like, please don't fall under that impression. And yeah, as you rightly mentioned, let's not call it a research elective, because
Yeah.
that's only specifically for Johns Hopkins, that if you're a
Yeah.
medical student, that is one way to, like,
Way. Yeah.
undergo administrative processes.
Yeah.
It's essentially a research internship. And as
Yeah.
Fatima rightly said a while back, that maybe that could affect, like that could going for Khorana might maybe make you realize that you want to do USM. As what
Yeah.
happened in
Yeah.
my case, I wasn't going to pursue US residency personally, but after going there, I was like, yeah, this is interesting, and
Yeah, it's the same case with me, and I believe with Ishan too, because Ishan was also confused with this.
yeah, I mean,
I
like,
think
I
he
think
did.
we all of us were like, that was one of the let's say differentials we had in mind, USMLE, but we did not really have it sure. But like, Khorana scholarship really helped with that. The next question would be, how can students effectively manage the Khorana application preparation alongside their regular MBBS studies? And like, additionally, how can attendance requirements during the scholarship be managed with their curriculum, especially those for those who are worried about potential conflicts with clinical postings? Were clinical postings recognized as on duty or during the Khorana internship, or did you need to attend compensatory postings? And all the issues about NOC and all of that. So yeah, this is a very frequently asked question for us, I guess.
So the answer to this question, I don't think it is very straight, because it all depends from college to college. So I don't think, like, we don't have a very specific kind of curriculum, like AIMS Delhi, for example. They have a vacation period. They have a vacation period. I believe it is for 4 weeks. So they usually go for 8 weeks, and 4 weeks they use the vacation time, and they are left with 4 weeks for which they compensate the attendance, I think. And but in my case, we don't have a vacation. We don't have a 4 week vacation. We do have a vacation, but that's just for 1 week. So I don't think it helps that much. So it depends on your college. So I believe you should start planning early on. You should start talking to your authorities. You should try to convince them slowly. Like, you should put that seed way back, and you should start to convince, like I'll complete my attendance, or please let me go, and all these sorts of things.
Just make a
Because
baby face.
yeah. So because it's not that straight in a medical college, I believe, because I was with Sambit in Hopkins. So me and Sambit used to eat our dinner together. So Sambit used to tell me, like, how it was easy for them because they had their vacations, and also that dean used to agree, and they also could exchange their semester and all. So it was like very different in a medical college compared to a college where the people do BSMS. It was very different. So I believe for a medical college, you should start really early, and I think Ishan can add to it.
Yeah. So I think the best way is, I think, taking it day by day, right? So you go to your college authorities, for the NOC. You just tell them that, I'm applying for this. Give me an objection to apply. So that's what our college did. So it was like, Khorana program didn't occur for the last, I think, past 3 years. It was 2020 before our application season. So nobody really knew what is going on. And I think a lot of medical students, besides like 3 people from our college, hadn't done that, because it was usually like the pure sciences people who had prior research experience were able to apply and get in. So we were kind of navigating this. And so the thing is that when you tell them, okay, you're applying, I'm just asking you to give me the permission to apply. So they clearly write it that whenever he or she gets selected and wants to go, he or she will have to take permission and go. So I think no authority can deny that NOC, right? And once you get that, and then hear from them and you get accepted. I feel you have to explain to them that it's a Government of India scholarship, it's a Department of Biotechnology scholarship, and this will actually change my career path. And I think you will find someone in the administration who can actually vie for you. And,
Yeah, I would concur with that totally, even in my case, because like essentially what happens is, like, if one person from senior batches go, then, like, the trend is set, then it
Yeah.
becomes
Yeah.
easier. and so has happened with my college, I guess. But essentially you have to make them feel confident that, like, in my college they give only 2 weeks of summer break. So what I did was,
Yeah.
I out of the, like, after the 10 weeks, 2 weeks I did, and 8 weeks I compensated later on, because my whole round of clinical rotations was going to end pretty early, that is in October, and my university exams were going to be in January. So I had more than enough time to compensate for it later. But so you have to, but from what I know from for AFMC, did initially allowed but did not allow it later for our 2023 cohort. So you have to be more careful, and, like, but, like, just try, and, like, you have to do your best to convince. And yeah, like, from what Arshit was telling about him and some bit talking, like, even me and Fatima used to speak on chat and or call, and I used to tell her, I was explaining the whole medical curriculum to her, and she was like, भाई तुम्हें सिर्फ 2 हफ्ता ब्रेक मिलता है. I was like, yeah.
Exactly. This was what Sambit and we used to talk. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and the, like,
Same.
last question I would like to take, because it's already very late and we have overshot the time a lot. But this is one
Yeah.
important one, is like, and it has been answered in the chats, but, like, for a YouTube audience, so I would like to take that one to follow up. For those who feel the program doesn't align with their primary career goals, what motivations should they consider for participating? In other words, can this opportunity be beneficial for those who do not plan to pursue research as a career? Or and also, should a letter of recommendation include an evaluation of clinical skills for medical students, given the research elective nature of the program? Again, like, not very fond of that word, but yeah.
So I
Ishan,
Yeah.
can take the can I
Fatima.
take the
Yeah, sure,
starting
sure,
part
sure,
of the
sure.
question? Yeah. So the question was just like that person or whoever does not want to do research, right? And
Yeah.
then why should they apply? Okay, so my coming back question would be, how do you know that you don't have to do research, right? Maybe once you go over there, maybe you've seen the research that happens in India. Maybe you've not seen how it works in US. Maybe you go there, maybe you actually like it, and maybe you change your, career path. Because right now we are not, even for us who is even like maybe doing a PhD or doing a master's, we have not narrowed down to something that, okay, this XYZ is something that I'll be doing for the rest of my lives. We ourselves don't know. So I would always suggest that person to, apply. The biggest motivation is to, it's like a challenge, right? You're in a new country, you don't know how things work there, you don't know what you're going to even do in the lab. It's a new topic, most cases. So just, be bold and, just apply and, take that chance, because that experience has the potential to change your entire career and your entire views about research, maybe. So yeah, that would be my take on it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ishan and
Also,
Arshit.
also another point to this, I don't think if a person is not interested in research, he would get selected in the first place, because I think it is a very competitive
Competitive.
program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah, I
sense.
was about to say this only, that I know at times we may not be taught research in the best ways in India, right? But, I think if you get into the process of it and you start learning from your own experiences, it does become interesting. But again, it's a person to person thing, and I feel the methodologies are same. You have better administrative support and more cutting edge resources in US. So yeah, definitely, it will be a better experience even if you have the slightest of interest in what goes on in the background of research. So yeah, you have to keep your mind open in terms of that. And the question on the LORs, I would say, is that I don't think there's any sense to include your clinical skills as an MBBS student, because you're doing a research elective. It's not a clinical elective, so you can focus on how you are as a person, how inquisitive you are, and what motivates you to do research more than this. You can obviously mention anecdotes from your clinical experience or ask your mentor to, and add that I noticed this in his nature of talking to this, and then he brought up a research question, and so that makes more sense rather than core clinical skills.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. So, with this whole discussion and a number of topics being discussed and a number of doubts also been cleared, uh, I see that a lot of questions were also answered in the chat. So, we because of the paucity of time and we have overshot the time a lot, it would be difficult to take a Q&A round, a live doubts round for this webinar, but I hope more the questions, at least for the application part of it, were answered. A lot of you have doubts about what will happen after the selection, after the acceptance, and like how to choose mentors and how to manage expenses. But I think that is not really the concern at this point of time. So maybe
Yeah.
once you all get selected, and I really hope you all do, and wishing you all the best for that. But once you all do, like, we are always available for the prospective, for the future scholars, in guiding them in whatever way possible, be it right from the food, random food videos which I sent to my co-scholars, to some things I don't want to talk about, like the whole washroom situation. So so yeah, that's about this webinar. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Thank you to our panelists for taking out this time and putting in so much efforts in guiding our sharing the insights and guiding our prospective applicants. As a final note, I would highly recommend all prospective applicants to refer to the official website of IUSSTF for applying, for and to read the FAQs and to learn more about the program. Also, IUSSTF and DBT, you can check their LinkedIn page or Facebook pages, have organized an official webinar where program officials will explain the Khorana scholarship from their end. So some of the questions we said should be asked directly to the program coordinators and people, can be asked there. So it is on the 3rd of October, if I remember correctly. So please do check out. And lastly, but not the least, a big thank you to Mr. Shashwat Srivastav, my junior from my medical college, for providing the technical help and support to live stream this webinar, considering the huge amount of registrations we had, so that everyone had the chance to attend. With this being said, thank you again, everyone, for joining in, and good luck with your Khorana scholarship journey and a wonderful week ahead. All right. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Is everyone leaving? We can do a screenshot of all our
Yeah, I did
panelists,
not.
I guess.
I did not. I think people already started leaving, but